Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the last man archetype. The last man is, well, I feel like the last man is ultimately an archetype that Friedrich Nietzsche talked about extensively in Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And the last man is not a hero or a savior, but ultimately a degenerate form of humanity that represents the end of like human aspiration. I would ultimately go along and say that it's a little bit, from a spiritual perspective, that the last man ultimately appears at the end of a cycle. So we know that, from a dialectical perspective, that there are booms, there are busts, there are highs, there are lows, there are positives, there are negatives. Things come into existence, things leave, things appear and disappear. And so with these yin and yang elements, these attributes that are kind of opposing each other, this ultimately brings about something new. So the last man is ultimately the final completion of a cycle, and we'll get to that in a second. The last man appears after the death of God when traditional values have collapsed. Rather than creating new values, the last man retreats into comfort and passivity. The last man appears after the death of God when traditional values have collapsed, and rather than creating new values, the last man retreats into comfort and passivity. For Nietzsche, this is a crisis within the evolution of humanity. So when we begin to talk about, cultural evolution and the collective of Black people, that we've kind of gotten to that place within Black culture where a lot of these sort of crises that are emerging within the evolution of the individuation process of Black American people, we begin to see that the rappers and the athletes are ultimately chasing negative freedom because these things are ultimately dialectical and they're ultimately opposing each other constantly.